Hello and welcome to our London History Podcast, where we share our love of London, its people, places and history in 20-minute espresso shot episodes, served with a dash of personality. I am Hazel Baker, London tour guide and CEO of London Guided Walks, providing private tours, treasure hunts and live London quizzes to Londoners and visitors alike. To accompany this podcast, we also have hundreds of London history-related blog posts for you to enjoy absolutely free. And also, we've launched the Daily London, providing you with daily inspiration for things to do in London. You can listen on iTunes, Spotify, or even add it to your Alexa flash briefings. And you can check it all out on our website, londonguidedwalks.co.uk/flash. Don't forget too that we're also offering a September sale. You can get 20% off any private tour booked by the end of September 2020. You can book it for January or February, it doesn't matter, as long as you use the promo code Summer 2020 and book before the end of September, you can get your 20% off. Joining me in the studio today is City of London tour guide Ian McDiarmid.
Hello.
And we're going to be doing something a little bit different today, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to be looking at names of London that derive from animals.
Yeah, it's something that's really quite popular when we're on our walks, isn't it? People want to know about where a name comes from. So it'll be good to get to the bottom of some of them.
Yeah, but am I right in saying that there's no hard and fast answers on this?
No, it's funny, isn't it, with language? It's not like we have a lot of evidence of when names became the names that we know them now. It's just how language has changed over time. But we'll have a look and see what we can work out and whether we can actually believe the stories that have been told, the popular reasons for names coming into existence. And we can have a chat about it if you want.
Okay. Well, I drew up a list of names from places in London which have this animal theme to them. So I'm going to pick them at random and throw them at you, Hazel, putting you on the spot. So are you ready for this? No pressure.
All right, then go on for it.
Okay, well, let's begin with one I actually knew about, I think. Houndsditch.
Okay, yes. Well, that one's a 13th century name. Comes from the time where there was a ditch where people used to just throw their rubbish, and it relates to the rubbish and dead dogs found in the ditch. What you believed?
Yes, and perhaps we should explain that it's just an area immediately beyond the city wall.
Yes.
In fact, it's to the northeast, isn't it?
That's right. It's a dumping ground. Yeah, absolutely. But did you know that in 1989 there was an excavation of this area of Houndsditch, and they did find a number of dog skeletons?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
So maybe that this bit has a ring of truth to it after all.
Okay, well, now I'm going to pick another one from this list, and I'm guessing, I think, fairly safely here that we're going to carry on this theme. The Isle of Dogs.
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? I mean, people do say it was an area that wild dogs ran around with, and it was a marshy wasteland, really. Now, Anton de Wengert, he did a panorama of London in 1543, and that shows the area name as Isle of Dogs. And we also know a little later on Samuel Pepys describes it as the unlucky Isle of Dogs. Now, while it was unlucky, I'm not quite sure, but there's several stories about it. So you've got like the wild dog story, but also don't forget the Isle of Dogs is just directly north of Greenwich. And Greenwich, you had a hunting ground and a wonderful palace built by Henry VIII. And maybe he needed his dogs housed somewhere that wasn't so, away from the noise and the smell of the dogs. And maybe it was just on the other side of the River Thames. And maybe that's where we get the name from.
Oh, okay. I remember that in the Maritime Museum or the Queen's House, where they've got lots of paintings of Greenwich, they often include the Isle of Dogs in the background. And it's interesting to see as somewhere that's just completely empty. But I do also remember, I think, 2 or 3 windmills on the western side of it from those paintings. Anyway, let's go on. Let's ask you another one. I'm going to pick this one up because it's the same area. And so we're moving away from the canine theme, though. Canary Wharf. What's the origin of that one, Hazel?
Yeah, so nothing to do with miners and canaries going down the mines. This one is related to the sea trade and, of course, the trade with the Canary Islands. So from about 1802 to the early 1900s, Canary Wharf and the docks there were some of the busiest docks in the world.
Oh, okay. Right. Good. Now, we've spoken about dogs. What about Catford? How does that come to be known as Catford?
Well, this is a place, very popular place, Anglo-Saxon times, where the cattle would cross the river. So it's the River Ravensbourne there. And you're thinking, okay, well, why wasn't it called Cowcross? But this is also a place where there are lots and lots of feral cats. So you can see the link of Isle of Dogs and Catford. Also, it's believed this is where a lot of black cats were actually drowned in the river when they were also hunting for witches, because black cats are associated with witches.
Oh, that's a bit depressing, isn't it?
Yeah, we weren't nice to our animals.
No, I find stories of cruelty to cats a bit sad. Anyway, perhaps we should explain that Catford is just near Lewisham, isn't it? It's just to the south of Lewisham.
Yeah.
What about then, Hazel, Ravenscourt Park?
Yeah. So Ravenscourt Park now, there was in the 1600s a manor house built, 1650 actually. And then in 1747, so nearly coming on to 100 years old, the house was bought by Thomas Corbett. And he named it Ravenscourt. So what has Ravenscourt got to do with anything with Thomas Corbett? Well, ravens were in his coat of arms. And Corbeau is raven in French. And of course we say Corbett, but I bet his original name was Thomas Corbeau, making the link and putting his stamp on the history there.
Okay, and whereabouts is Ravenscourt?
West of Hammersmith.
Now, Hammersmith is near Shepherd's Bush. So
yes.
What has Shepherd's Bush got to do with animals?
Well, apart from in the name, we're not quite sure. However, it is on that western eastern road from the west coming into London, and it's believed this is where a lot of the sheep took a little break from their walk to their impending doom at Smithfield Market.
I don't think many of these are going to be happy stories, are they?
No. Well, don't forget, we didn't have trains, we didn't have lorries at the time, so all these animals going to market in London would have had to walk there.
Yeah. What about... Now, we were talking about dogs earlier on.
Yeah.
What about the name Barking? Anything to do with dogs?
You're barking mad, Ian. Well, no. Nothing to do with dogs at all. We know that the name was Berecinges, so Berecinges, and that's an Anglo-Saxon word, but we're not quite sure on the meaning. There's two options. One is that it's a settlement of followers or descendants of a man called Bereka, or I like to say Barocca, or it's an area of birch trees. And don't forget, we have 7 sisters, which are 7 trees, so I'm kind of linking to the birch trees, but that has moved into barking as we know it now.
Okay, that's fairly interesting, but if I'm being critical, that's got absolutely nothing to do with animals, has it?
No, you're right.
Okay. Moving on, what about Woolwich?
Yeah, so you're talking Ulevik, really, and that's the old word for this area, which was known for trading in wool. And itch, so you got wool and then witch, W-I-C-H, and itch means just a landing place, really. And don't forget, right by the river as well, so sheep would have probably come on ships.
Okay, now another one with a sort of sheepy kind of name is Lambeth. Is that right? Is that to do with lambs?
Doing the Lambeth Walk, you mean?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, so we have documentation of 1088, and it's called, well, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like sort of like Lamtha there. So it's Lamhytha. So I'd say Lamtha. And that's not too far from Lambeth now. Don't forget, languages changing, the way we pronounce our words have changed quite a lot in that 1,000 years. And it was basically a landing place for lambs. Okay. So you have sheep in Woolwich and you have lambs in Lambeth.
Okay. Now here's one that doesn't necessarily shout animals at you, but I think you're going to tell me it is Mayfair.
Yeah. What do you mean it doesn't shout animals at you?
Well, it's a fair held in May, I would guess.
Yeah, for sheep.
Okay.
So, I mean, it all closed down 1709 during the reign of Queen Anne because it actually got quite a raucous affair. So, if you know where Shepherd Market is, ex-red light district, this was where most of the fair was happening. There'd be gingerbread stalls and lots of drinking. Soldiers would come, girls would come with colourful ribbons in their hair. And it only happened the first 2 weeks of May. And it was given royal permission by James II. And this was its new location. Before that, it was on Haymarket. And that was a full-time sheep and cattle market. And that had been granted permission by Charles II in 1663 to the Earl of St Albans. But that came so absolutely filthy and disgusting, they actually moved location.
Elephant and Castle?
Yeah, so this...
Oh, now, sorry, let me guess on this one. And I think I'm going to guess incorrectly. Pub sign.
You're just cheating now, aren't you?
Am I?
Are you?
No. I don't know why I know that, if it's correct, but I think I do.
Well, there's two stories. One of them is the story of the Cutlers, and their symbol, if you have a look at the Cutlers Hall on, Warwick Avenue in the city, they have a sign of an elephant and a castle.
Okay.
No real link between the Cutlers and Elephant and Castle, as far as I'm aware. It's really, yes, pubs or coaching inns. Don't forget, pubs weren't just places where you would sit and drink. These were places that you'd stay overnight or even for weeks, depending on what you needed to do. There was no such thing as really hotels. Your taverns were the best places. And this was a pub that was really popular with ivory merchants in the 18th century. And it was on a very popular intersection of the Old Kent Road and Newington Causeway, two main roads, both originally Roman roads, and that's where the Elephant Inn converged. So it just makes sense this is where people are going to be coming together. The castle bit, I haven't got a clue.
So when they put saddles on elephants in ancient times, that's known as that's Elephant and Castle.
Oh, yes.
That's where it comes from, I think.
That's right, good point. Well remembered.
This as well, and perhaps when they were fighting the British. Falconwood Park is in Bexley.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to guess that's got something to do with falcons.
No. Sorry to disappoint. So it's an area in Bexley. It was an area developed off a wood area, which had been known as West Wood since 1551. And then developers in the 1930s decided to develop the area and rename it Falconwood to make it more attractive to residents. And you see this across London. Agamemnon Way in West Hampstead, for example, was the worst area in West Hampstead to live. But rename it and suddenly it's all very appealing.
Agamemnon Way sounds as though it should be quite classy, really.
Yeah, they try.
Okay. Now, Falconwood Park, maybe not a lot... We said it's in Bexley, maybe not a lot of people know Bexley. So let's, for the last one, go right into the centre of London. And a name that may not be immediately apparent that it's associated with animals, and that is Soho.
Yeah.
I know this one, so I can't... But...
Are you going to tell everyone then?
Well, yeah, okay. It's to do with hunting, isn't it? And
Well, you said you knew.
Well, I think it's the cry that men on horses made when they were out hunting poor little foxes. Is that right?
Well, yes, it's what men... But don't forget, hunting was also accessible to some women. But Soho was their hunting cry. But not poor little foxes, poor little hares.
Oh.
Yes. Okay. So the name Soho first appears in the 17th century, so we're talking 1600s, and James Scott, who was the first Duke of Monmouth, he uses Soho as a rallying cry at the Battle of Sedgemoor, and this is in 1685. And then this is a half a century after we've seen Soho being used for the name of this area.
Okay, good.
So what's next on your list?
I think we've gone through all of my little list. Yeah, that's all of them.
Well, I'm very disappointed, Ian.
Why?
Well, and I know you know this one because you actually went on my walk.
Which is?
Foxhall.
Foxhall?
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Well, you said you were going to give me a list of places which had history of animal-related names.
Yeah.
And you missed off Foxhall.
Okay. Hazel, I've got one for you. Vauxhall. What's that got to do? I had no idea this had anything to do with animals at all. I would have assumed it was named after somebody called Go on, tell us.
Okay, so Samuel Pepys is the reason why I know about this one, because he talks in his diary, 1665, of getting on a boat and going to Foxhall, as in Foxhall. And you're going, well, that could be anywhere. Mm-hmm. But he also talks about enjoying the gardens there and having very good conversations, civil conversations and drink in the gardens. And of course, we know from the 1740s, Vauxhall Gardens is very popular. So I had a little look into this, and Foxhall, indeed, it was called Foxhall, all the way from 1216. So there was a chap called Falks de Brett, Breute, with a little accent, and he married Margaret Fitzgerald. And Falks de Brett was King John's mercenary, and he was like one of the top dogs there. And he owned a large house in this area, and people referred, first of all, to Foxhall, and then, as English not very good with foreign languages, got a bit complacent and called it Foxhall. And that has eventually moved into Vauxhall by the 1740s.
Okay. Now, I know an urban myth about Vauxhall. Urban myth. It's a great story, but
Is it clean?
It's clean. I'm a bit reluctant to say it because I'm fairly sure it's a load of rubbish. The story is the Tsar was visiting England. I think we're talking about Nicholas I. And he's on a train and they stop at what is Vauxhall Station. And he leans out, he pulls the curtain back and he says to somebody, "What's that?" Meaning, what is this thing that we in English call a station? And they said Vauxhall. And then the Russian word for station becomes Vauxhall. It's a great story. I'm fairly sure it's a load of rubbish. That's my contribution to Vauxhall.
I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah, you're not looking overwhelmed at all. Okay, well, that was very interesting, Hazel. Yeah, that's good. So can we pursue this a bit further? Have we got other ideas up our sleeves for animal or other related names in London?
Yeah, well, I was thinking maybe street names, because that's always rather interesting, isn't it? And people do ask when they're on the walks, what's the origin of this street name? Why is it called this?
And will you be able to keep that one clean?
Well, I can if you can.
Yeah, okay. I'm just thinking medieval street names. Yeah. Okay, we'll do our best. Yeah.
So if anybody has a street name that they really want to get to the bottom of, then send us a request via email, voice message on our website, text us or Instagram or Twitter. We're everywhere. So you'll be able to find us and put in your request for London street names. And we have had a request from Geeta as well for the history of department stores. And, I did that Mr. Selfridge and retail therapy tour many moons ago now. So this will be good to dive back into that, Tim.
Yeah, I like that walk. You still do it, don't you?
Yeah, just not as a public one. We've got so many on the go.
Yeah, okay.
So, yes, Geeta, thank you very much for that one. We'll be adding a podcast on that subject. That's all we've got time for now. Don't forget, we have history-related blog posts for this episode and others on our webpage, londonguidedwalks.co.uk/podcast. Check out our Daily London, giving you daily inspiration for things to do in London. And also, we have our 20% off September promotion for all private tours if you book by the end of September. And if you haven't already, a review would be very much appreciated.